organization needs depth if they're going to be successful. You lose an important player and you bring up a guy who can fill a lot of roles. Eric Campbell is here to take David Wright's spot, if not with the captaincy, at least for the moment at third base, as the Mets try and keep it rolling tonight against the Phillies. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. Tonight's game is brought to you by Ford. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets go for the sweep of a three-game series against the Phillies. It's Jackie Robinson night, celebrating the 68th anniversary of Jackie's debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers. The Mets last night lost David Wright to the disabled list. David was diagnosed today with a mild hamstring strain. He got a cortisone shot. They're hoping it'll be only 2 weeks, maybe 3. And it's a bit of a disappointment for the captain to go down this early this year.
Well, you know, the frustration must be there. It's been 9 years since David has been in a playoff game, postseason play, and justifiably all the great expectations of this season. And to have it all of a sudden kind of get cut short where he's going to miss some time early in the season. I think the most important thing is it was the same leg that he's pulled before. David before has stayed in a ball game and it's furthered the injury. He took himself out of this ball game, so you don't have any. You don't make the injury more severe. Hopefully it'll be 3 weeks. From a team standpoint, I know it's cliche. It takes 25 to win. They're going to have to pick up the slack with his absence, and that brings us to his replacement, Gary.
Well, Eric Campbell flew in from Las Vegas today, and he'll be at third base for the Mets tonight.
You know, it was really something. Everyone is there's always one person that's disappointed at the end of spring training, and when the Mets decided to go with an 8-man bullpen, Eric Campbell was out. But instead of moping and going down to AAA and saying, boy, what if, he went down there and got raging hot. 11 for 20, had three doubles, a triple, a home run, 6 RBIs. He did everything that he had to do, and it paid off. You never know what events will transpire to get you back in the big leagues. Eric Campbell went down there and proved he should be the first up. He's up tonight.
And he'll be at third base tonight, taking David Wright's spot. On the mound for the Mets will be Jonathan Niese, making his second start. Didn't pitch great his first time out, but also was betrayed by his defense.
You know, it was interesting, yes. His defense struggled. Wilmer Flores struggled in that ball game, but we saw a new Jonathan Niese. A lot of change-ups in that game. That'll be something to watch if he uses his curveball also.
The well-traveled right-hander and Honolulu native Jerome Williams on the mound for the Phillies.
Well, he's one of 38 players born in Hawaii that made it to the major leagues. Like Gary said, he's been all over the place, including the Chinese Professional League. 48 wins in the big leagues. He's looking to solidify his spot to spend his entire year in Philadelphia.
Pitched very well late last season for the Phillies after they picked him up on waivers. Mets go for their 4th straight win and try for a sweep of the Phillies. Mets and Phils, all the action coming your way on SNY. Cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers, visit tristateford.com. By Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. By Empire City. By Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. And by Cadillac. Who are the 4 players who best represent the history of the Mets? And who are the 4 greatest Major League Baseball players? Go to MLB.com/franchise4 to cast your ballots. Winners will be revealed during the All-Star Game July 14th. John Niese makes his way in from the bullpen. The now familiar lineup of the high fives from the pitching staff. Greeting Niese as he makes his way in for his second start. First pitch coming up from Citi Field. Became the first African-American player in Major League Baseball when he took the field for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And we commemorate to this day that seminal event in baseball and American history. You see the career numbers for Jackie Robinson. Won the first ever National League Rookie of the Year award, which is now named for him, in 1947. MVP in 1949 when he hit .342. And Jackie Robinson's number 42 retired in perpetuity, but now on the backs of every Major League Baseball player every April 15th.
You know, what's been interesting is that all the Mets pitchers have been running out there this year. Harvey draws the line where he wants to go, and Jonathan Niese does it and marks it off. And at the very bottom, he'll draw an X or cross. That's where he wants to land. Almost like a goalie when they're scratching their crease.
Here's the Phillies starting lineup tonight. Very different look, brought to you by Hyundai with a lefty on the mound. The Phillies, who normally have a left-hand dominated lineup, go with a different look. Chase Utley stays in there. Of course, why not? He had 2 home runs last night, but he's not had much luck against Niese. The former Met Jeff Francoeur, who hit a home run last night off the bench in there at cleanup. Odubel Herrera leads off and takes outside from Niese, and we're underway. John's first start was in Atlanta last Friday. 5 innings, only 1 earned run. But a no decision for him as the Mets defense let him down.
Show me those numbers again. Those are the Jeep numbers for Jonathan Niese. 51 and 52 and 51 in his career, and 21 and 28 here, surprisingly, at Citi Field.
Herrera cracks one toward the gap in right center field, and he's got himself an extra base hit. Herrera heads for second as Lagares digs it out, and now he's going to try for 3. Murphy makes the relay, not in time, and Odubel Herrera has himself a leadoff triple, his first major league triple.
Well, 2-0 count. Jumping on a fastball, too much plate, wants it away. Got it up though, out over the plate and up. And this is a frozen rope, folks. I tell you what, one hop on the 380 mark right when that Geico sign, and watch this kid fly.
Watch how he goes over second, Keith. He almost long jumps it.
Lost his stride.
So they left Herrera in against the lefty. That pays off. Now Cesar Hernandez is getting the start at shortstop tonight, a switch hitter, getting his first start in the series. Hernandez has not played a lot of shortstop. Been mostly a second baseman and a center fielder in his career. And he jams him and he fouls it off 0-2.
You know what's interesting, Gary and Keith, is that Harvey, of course, has exceptional stuff. Jonathan Niese has good stuff. But you have a young team. They want to swing the bat. You're going to get them out around the periphery of the strike zone, not in the strike zone.
Pull just fell, and Herrera does well to avoid getting drilled.
He's got to get a little more foul, too.
Remember when you were a kid and you played dodgeball? You remember that?
That's right. He made like Ben Stiller. Very nice.
But you're right. He's barely outside the chalk. And, of course, if you hit in fair territory, you're out.
No, he's a little. No, he likes to come in.
Check swing. He went around strike 3. Hernandez with a half swing strikeout for the first out of the night.
That's great, Jonathan. Get ahead and then expand the strike zone. These young players will swing. Utley's coming up next. But guys like Hernandez, Herrera, Ben Revere, etc.
So 1 away. Herrera still at third. Mets playing the infield back, conceding a run on a ground ball. Chase Utley had a big night last night. 2 home runs, an RBI single, hit by a pitch, stole a base. And you can't beat Utley's reaction after the game to Harvey hitting him in the back. Said, I've been hit before.
He's been hit the most before of any active player by far. He's tough as nails.
And by far the Phillies career leader in hit by pitch. Well, this was after 2 Mets had been hit earlier.
Well, the script couldn't have been written better for this drilling right here. And I love the way he checked him out on the way to first base just to make sure there wasn't a sneak attack there. There's David.
Breaking ball hit to second. That'll bring in a run. Murphy throws out Utley. Utley has his 4th RBI of the series, and the Phillies have a 1-0 lead.
And we'll take a quick look at your lovable Metsy defense, and that's brought to you by Lexus. Same outfield, but Eric Campbell at third base. Tejada also getting a start at shortstop. So the left side of the infield is entirely different, and Darno getting a whole lot of playing time. He's off to a great start.
Jeff Francoeur swings at almost everything, fouls off the first one. He swung at the first pitch last night against Jerry's Familia in the 9th inning and slugged his 2nd home run of the year.
That's a first. Lovable Mets defense.
I got to keep the adjectives flowing.
You're just a very positive person by nature. That's how it goes.
Eric Campbell, who just got in today. Francoeur pokes one foul, and it's 0-2. Jeff Francoeur hitting cleanup in a big league lineup for the first time since July of 2012 when he was playing for Kansas City. Jeff spent most of last year in the minor leagues in the San Diego organization, doing some hitting and doing some pitching. And he pops one up on the right side. Murphy out, it's Granderson in, and Granderson will take care of it to retire the side. But a leadoff triple by Odubel Herrera. He comes in to score, and the Phillies take a quick 1-0 lead. There's your Mets starting lineup. Eric Campbell slots in number 6 in the order, but the really interesting piece is Travis d'Arnaud moved up to the 2-hole for the first time in his major league career. So we'll see how Travis fares in that slot, which more and more has been reserved for a big hitter in the lineup.
Gary, you're talking about Jerome Williams. Here's the Toyota numbers. Let's go places for Jerome Williams. San Francisco, Chicago Cubs, Washington Nationals, Los Angeles Angels, Houston Astros, Texas Rangers, Philadelphia Phillies.
Did you mention Taiwan?
I did not. The Chinese team. I should have written that down. I'm sorry.
I believe he also played in the Atlantic League. So he has been he's been around. Granderson flies one out to left field. Ben Revere waiting for it. And that's the first out.
And we'll take a look at your Philadelphia Core's light defense. And as Gary said earlier, a lot of different players in there. Francoeur gets the start against the lefty tonight, right. Hernandez at shortstop, only his 3rd start at shortstop in the major leagues, mainly a second baseman and an outfielder, and Cameron Rupp, the new battery mate.
Ryan Howard getting the day off against the lefty. So here's d'Arnaud hitting in the 2 slot. He's 2 for 8 in this series, hitting a .308, and takes a strike from Williams.
Well, I tell you what, the Phillies took Jerome Williams off the scrap heap last year and actually did a good job for them.
He did.
Williams went to camp last year with Houston. They used him out of the bullpen. They released him. Texas picked him up. He made a couple of starts. They released him, and the Phillies got him. He made 9 starts, and he was great.
And he had horrific numbers at Houston and Texas.
0-2 to d'Arnaud, and Travis lays off 1-2.
I remember when Jerome first came up, he used to wear those puka shells around his neck in memory of his mom, Deborah, who passed away. But now he uses the pink glove instead. She passed away of breast cancer.
Floated the other way, and d'Arnaud's got himself an opposite field hit. So behind in the count, d'Arnaud cuts down his swing, takes one to right field, and the Mets have their first base run.
Well, this is a 2-strike approach here. You got to go up the middle. That's a pretty good pitch by a pitcher right there. Keeps the shoulder in. That's key. Hands back. Let's go with one hand. Nice hitting.
And if you're the pitcher, it tells you on 2 strikes you have to come inside because
you.
you're covering outside.
You're right, Ron.
Lucas Duda comes to the plate. Duda, a couple of doubles, 3 RBIs last night. They put on the full shift against him, as they have throughout the series. And Duda golfs one into center field, and Herrera moves over to grab it.
Very
That's the second out.
Interesting that Lucas very seldom jumps on a first pitch, first time up in particular.
So 2 away, and now Michael Kadire. If you'll remember last night, Kadire was one of the Mets who got hit on the hand by a pitch, had to come out of the game, but did not feel it was serious, and he was right. He's right back in the lineup today.
I didn't get a chance to see him because he had a lot of people talking to him before the game in the clubhouse, but I wanted to ask him if when he got hit on the hand, if the butt of the bat diffused the pain at all. Sometimes it will, because those hitters go way down on the end of that bat.
Terry Collins said before the game today that it was his intent to start Kirk Neuenhuis and give Kadire a day off today, but he felt with Wright out of the lineup he needed Kadire's bat in there, and so Michael's right back in there.
My feeling when I got up this morning was Kadire's got to play. He's got to be in the lineup with David out. There it is right there when he got hit. Fortunately, there was nothing broke, all negative on the x-rays. But he had to be in the lineup today. Had to.
Now, Wilmer Flores was the other man who got hit. He got hit on the right hand. He's not in the lineup tonight, but it's not because of the hand. It's because they wanted to get Ruben Tejada a start.
And sit down, Flores. He's been struggling at the plate. Let him give him a day off. Let him catch his breath.
Well, it also makes sense if you're going to play Tejada to play him with Niese on the mound.
Well, absolutely. We saw, the couple of errors by Wilmer. But Jonathan Niese is a ground ball pitcher. So if you have a ground ball pitcher, you put your ground ball defense out there if you can.
And, you lose a little bit defensively at third base with Wright out, so that's part of the equation, too. Cuddyer fouls one off. Ruff coming over for a look, but that's in the crowd.
You know what I found interesting about last night? We saw Galvis and others. In today's style of hitting, and now Michael's a little older, so he's a little different. It's keep your hands inside the ball. But what it really does is it makes your hands vulnerable to the pitch because you keep your hands in there. When's the last time you saw someone turn their back or get out of dodge when the ball's inside? They just linger because they're trying to stay inside the ball.
Cutter from Williams fouled away, and Cuddyer hangs in there.
It's nobody's fault, and it's a style of doing it, but it makes you vulnerable to that pitch that gets away from the pitcher that's running in.
David Wright only able to observe tonight, and that'll be the case for the next 15 days at least.
Day one of purgatory. It is just so difficult when you're an everyday player. I know when I got hurt the first time, it's just tough to sit on the bench and not. It's a helpless feeling. You can't contribute, and it's something you're not. Well, at least the first time for everybody. You're not used to getting hurt. This is not the first time for David.
D'Arnaud runs 3-2 to Cuddyer, strikes him out with a cutter, and Jerome Williams has his first strikeout and an end to the bottom of the first. After 1-0 Phils. The bridges on the right, Freedom Tower on the left.
Deepwater Port.
Darren Ruff takes inside as we start the second inning. Ruff getting his fourth start of the year. He started a couple of games in left, now a couple of games at first. Off to a slow start. Has only hit in 14 at bats a home run. He lines this one to Cuddyer in left. He almost misplayed it, but able to recover for the first out.
Got kind of turned around here, but he had it all the way. It knows how he got off of his back pedaling. He turned the wrong way, made the adjustment, and didn't stay in the back pedal. That's when the ball starts dancing, when you get on your heels.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Cody Ashe, who has swung the bat very well in this series, 3 for 7, hit a home run last night. Ashe hitting .429 through his first 21 at bats, and takes a strike from Niese.
You know, we had that picture of Lady Liberty, Statue of Liberty, and I'm almost embarrassed to say, as a person that's lived almost 30 years in New York.
Line to left center, and that's going to find the gap and go all the way to the wall. And Ashe has himself another extra base hit as he stands with a 1-out double.
Well, Ashe off to a very, very hot start. Got a lot of playing time last year at third base. This is really his first season where he's really taken over the starting job and off to a terrific start.
He's really shortened his stroke, hasn't he, Keith? Last year he had a big, long swing that was so vulnerable, but not this year so far.
So Niese has given up 2 hits, and they've both been extra base hits to left-hand batters. First Herrera and now Ashe. So a runner at second with 1 out, and now Cameron Rupp, and Niese throws a fastball by him. Rupp making his 3rd start of the year, 26-year-old from the University of Texas, giving Carlos Ruiz a day off. Rupp looking for his first hit.
Had to play middle linebacker in high school or something in Texas. Big man.
And Niese gets a strike with the cutter, 0-2. Ben Revere hitting 8th in the order again today, 2nd straight day. They've dropped him down. And the fastball just off the plate, 1-2. Niese has saved some of his best games for the Phillies. Last 5 starts against Philadelphia, 3-0, 1.95. Lifetime 8-6 against Philadelphia. And he's pitched some really good games in Philadelphia, which is not the easiest place to pitch.
Big strong kid, this Rupp.
It's like the human muscle. Look at this guy with the big helmet.
Call him Rupp Arena.
Very good.
6'2", 258.
Curveball from John.
Haven't seen many of those, have we?
I'm counting them. That's number 1 tonight. I am. I'm not kidding.
Good for you.
You know, you mentioned his pitch selection in the Open tonight. I was shocked when I looked at his pitch chart from the game in Atlanta. I knew he had thrown a lot of changeups, but he threw his changeup 31% of the time against the Braves, which is unprecedented for him.
Well, he's really like a 5% changeup guy usually. I think what they're trying to do is that John gets really into the mode of fastball, especially first pitch or fastball cutter. And I think he's trying to throw a few changeups earlier in the count to get him off that fastball.
3-2 to Cameron Rupp, and he finds the hole, base hit. Ashe will pull in at 3rd. So he threw a changeup there, and Rupp gets a base hit. And the Phillies have 1st and 3rd and 1 out.
Well, this is where you can get hurt on the changeup. And I know a lot of guys like to throw changeups inside corner to tie up hitters. I just think the changeup, particularly a left-hander to a right-hander or a right-hander to a left-hand hitter, got to be on the outside part of the plate. If you get it over the middle, you're going to get hurt.
You're right. So if it's on the outside part of the plate, that's a ground ball to the shortstop.
You roll it
as
over.
Opposed to the base hit.
So you got 1st and 3rd and 1 out, but you got Ben Revere at the plate, which means it's going to be awfully hard to turn a double play. And so the Mets bring their middle infielders a little closer than double play depth.
Well, you know he's not bunting. He doesn't like to bunt the cutter.
Well, we're talking about last night when the Mets had Anthony Recker playing 3rd base. First time in his life he had ever played 3rd in the 9th. It made it a lot of sense. So instead he swung away and grounded out to 1st, and the Mets were able to hang on for a win.
What a play by Duda. And the inning, that same inning with the double play also.
There was so much to digest from last night's game.
It was hard to do the post game and get it all into that little at the end of that little window we had.
So we didn't.
I mean, between batters being hit, catcher's interference, manager ejected, a challenge that wasn't, a challenge that was denied. Big swing by Revere, 2-2. David Wright getting hurt. Kadire leaving the game. Recker playing 3rd base. I mean, on and on and on.
And folks, that's why we let Gary handle it last night. See, just so smoothly and beautifully.
I think I left a lot out. 2-2 to Revere. And it's off the plate. 3-2. 2nd straight full count for Niese with the pitcher Williams, not a noted swinger of the bat, waiting on deck. The base hit by Rupp was just the second in this series for the Phillies with a runner in scoring position. They're 2 for 14. 3-2 to Revere, and he struck him out. There's a big strikeout for Niese. Revere, a guy who doesn't strike out much, and Niese gets one when he needs it.
Big swing, and you just got to make contact here. Tough man to double up right down the middle.
Well, that's huge because now he's got the pitcher up with 2 out. Williams 0 for 2 this year, lifetime 118 hitter. Bats with first and third and 2 out. And the first pitch curveball misses for ball 1. Line, but right at Murphy, and the side retired. So Niese able to tiptoe around trouble in that second inning. Daniel Murphy, who homered last night, will lead off for the Mets as they come to bat in the second. 1-0 Philadelphia.
There's a ball game out here.
Get to Citi Field this Sunday when the Mets take on the Marlins at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans will receive a David Wright poster courtesy of Citi. After the game, all kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. Daniel Murphy leads off in the second. Murph last night became the first beneficiary of the new shorter fence in right center field. He had his first home run of the year, and he takes a strike from Jerome Williams. Murph had gone 172 at bats dating back to last August without hitting a home run. Eric Campbell getting ready for his first big league at bat of the season on deck. And Murph lofts this one to right field. Jeff Francoeur, who played right field probably better than anybody has in this ballpark, makes the catch one away.
And
here's your T-Mobile Game Changer, brought to you by T-Mobile. We were just talking about David Wright. Poster night coming up. He is first in virtually every offensive category with the exception of home runs, just 21 behind Darryl Strawberry.
Where's he at as far as games played now? He still hasn't caught Cranepool, I'm assuming.
Well, he just played his 1,500th game at third base recently.
Check that one out.
You said you were looking at Brooks. What did he play? 2,800 games at third base for the Orioles?
Amazing.
Something silly.
Something sick.
Yeah.
Well, Eric Campbell last night was playing in Sacramento for the Las Vegas 51s. When the news arrived that David Wright might have to go on the disabled list, they pulled Eric out of the game in the third inning. He flew from Sacramento to Las Vegas last night, got 3 hours sleep, woke up this morning, and flew from Las Vegas to New York. Hit hard toward the hole, and he's got a 1,000 batting average in the big leagues in 2015.
Good for him.
Well, Campbell was raking down in Vegas. He was hitting .550. And he's got a base hit his first time up with the Mets.
Gets a hanging cutter right there.
Yeah, that inside kind of cutter slider, Keith.
He did a terrific job for the Mets last year off the bench. Tough spot for a young guy. He gets spot time. I thought he was terrific. And as Ronnie said in the open, he went down there, didn't keep his dauber down, wore it out, and here he is. He's back up in the big leagues and starting.
So here's Lagares with 1 out and 1 on. By the way, Wright's about 350 games behind Cranepool for that Met record. There's a strike to Lagares. Lagares 2 for 8 in this series. Here are the complete numbers on games played.
Well, he's going to have them all before it's over.
Of course, Eddie had a long career as a pinch hitter after he was a regular player, and that boosted those games played. Rupp can't find it, but no reaction by Campbell.
Still can't
find it, and finally Campbell takes off. And now finally Rupp looked around the home plate umpire Dan Bellino to locate the ball.
Well, Bellino's got to move.
Come on, get out of the way.
Jeez.
Hits him in the hand on the bounce.
He
that
just
startled him.
Now get out of the way.
I don't think Bellino knew where it was.
But it doesn't
either.
matter. He's got to sprint out of there. Just get out of Dodge.
So it's a wild pitch charge to Williams. I don't recall a catcher taking that long to find it. Williams hesitated. He was pointing. He finally ran in to help his catcher out.
This is what happens every single time when a catcher loses like this. Pitcher always goes, "It's right there. It's right there. It's right there."
Where?
Exactly.
And now Rupp takes a shot off the mask. So he's having a rough at bat here. Rupp is. And Jerome Williams has pretty much seen it all, from first round draft pick of the Giants in 1999. Bunch of non-arm related injuries over the course of his career that have set him back. But he has found a home with the Phillies. Pitched a very good game his first time out this year against the Nats after 9 good starts late last year.
I'm jealous of those guys who say they're going to have to rip the uniform off me. Williams is from that school.
His parents were born in New York. They moved to Honolulu for a better life, and that's where he was raised. There's the breaking ball down, 2-2 to Lagares, and this time Rupp is able to locate the baseball in shorter order.
I did it the other way. Born in Hawaii and moved to Massachusetts. People ask me that all the time. What's wrong with you? I said I had no choice. I was 2 years old. What do you want me to do?
I was going to say, how old were you when you moved?
2.
It's not like you had a lot of life decisions that you could make on your own.
Learned how to surf in Maine. How bad is that?
How long is the surfing season in Maine? Like a week?
Yeah, 3 days.
Lagares pokes one into center field, and that'll drop for a base hit. Campbell got a good read. He's coming home. Herrera's throw to the plate is cut off, and the Mets tie the game. While Lagares with his 3rd RBI of the season, Campbell immediately pays dividends, and the Mets have gotten even at 1.
A good read. Watch Campbell on the top of your screen. He knew right away it was going to drop. He knew where his outfielders were and scores easily. Nice hitting by Lagares. Stayed level. Go up the middle when you're struggling. He's got that ability. Wand inside out, that ball up the middle. Nice hitting.
A better series for Lagares. 3 for 9 now in the 3 games. Here's Ruben Tejada, who had a pinch hit double last night amidst all the other happenings. With Campbell, when we watched him last year, the more you saw him, the more you saw the little things that he could do well to help a team win.
He's just so well coached. Like you said, does all the little things. People take that stuff for granted. Base running in the major leagues has gone downhill. He's one of those guys that is spot on. Like Keith said, he's on secondary lead. He knows where the outfielders are. He knows how hard the ball is hit, and you put all those factors together, and it allowed him to get that great jump.
Tejada's double last night was his first hit of the year, 1 for 5. John Niese is on deck. And Tejada loops one into shallow right. That'll fall for a hit. Around second, Lagares. He'll pull in there. You're not going to challenge Frank Core's arm. So 3 straight hits by the 6, 7, and 8 hitters as Tejada takes one the other way.
Fastball outside corner off the end of the bat. Fortunate. And Francoeur with one of the best arms in the game. Don't even think about it.
Talked about it before. Frenchie played here in 09 and 10 when the dimensions were huge out in right center field. He played so well out there.
How about Lagares having to concede to a guy with at least equal his arm? I think Lagares charges the ball maybe a little better than Francoeur, but Francoeur is I mean, he's the kind of guy that would have been a quarterback of the football team, the javelin thrower, whatever it takes.
He was.
Yeah.
Very heavily recruited football player down in Georgia. Won a Gold Glove for the Braves back in 07. His career has been checkered over the last few years, but back in the big leagues. Now they look for the bunt from Niese, who had a base hit in his first start in Atlanta. First and second, 1 out. And he takes the cutter for ball 1.
Ronnie, when you bunted, did you square around completely, or Niese is almost in his batting stance?
Yeah, I squared around completely, faced the pitcher, and I got really flexible with my knees. Made sure that I could go up and down. Didn't get those real stiff legs.
Phillies play it straight up, and Niese gets the bunt down. Rupp's going to try for third, gets the out there, and no relay by Ashe. So Niese couldn't get it far enough away from home plate. 2-5 on the fielder's choice.
Easy play for the catcher there. Always the catcher fields the ball. The play's in front of him. He can see where the runner is. He's the one guy facing the runner of all the fielders on the infield. Doesn't need any help. He can make the read himself.
And you know, Keith, the only other recommendation that I used to do, it doesn't mean every pitcher should do it, I used to run to the very front of the box, because that bunt there, that gives you another 6 inches a foot. Maybe it's out of Rupp's play.
So now Granderson with 2 out and 2 on. Curtis flied out to left his first time up. Granderson began the day with a .406 on base percentage despite a .136 batting average. That's a consequence of a major league leading 10 walks through the first 8 games.
Got to step out too long.
Yeah,
too long.
Dan doesn't step out of the box. Williams is one of those guys that tries to get you to go after bad pitches. He's a nibbler, as you would call. He has to be.
Problem for the catcher, he's got 15 pitches. I mean, it's hard to get on the right page.
When he was first signed, as that one's boxed around by Rupp, when he was first signed, Williams was a mid-90s guy. Now he's a high 80s guy. He's had to re-evolve.
He's a #1 pick.
Yep.
39th, I think, in the nation one year.
1999 by the Giants. Now with his 7th major league team. Tejada at second, Niese at first with 2 out. Granderson with a 2-0 advantage, looking for his first RBI of the season. And he takes off the outside corner, 3-0. And we know with Curtis, he loves to swing 3-0 if it's to his liking.
Great time to get that first bomb.
Travis d'Arnaud would be next. Anderson has a home run against Jerome Williams. Takes a strike, 3-1. Well, Williams really takes a lot of time.
He and Rupp are just they can't get on the same page.
Well, he's a slow worker also. I knew we were in for it tonight.
There are not yet any rules in place as far as pace of game for pitchers. Looped into center. Herrera coming on fast and gets there to retire the side. The Mets get even with 3 straight hits. Eric Campbell got it started. A wild pitch moved him up, and Juan Lagares got him in. 1-1 game after 2. Jackson, who threw out the first pitch today. 77 years young.
Don't let him kid you. He can still throw batting practice.
And he threw a strike to Mookie Wilson. Perfectly done. Odubel Herrera leads off against Jonathan Niese in the third. Herrera tripled and scored the Phillies run in the opening inning. Niese was able to sidestep trouble in the second. Now top of the batting order in the third. And we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Guys, on Jackie Robinson Day, it's worth noting that the number of African Americans in the league has actually gone down in recent years. Take the Mets, for instance. Only 2 African Americans on the roster, John Mayberry Jr. and Curtis Granderson. Now, Granderson's doing his part where he can to help change that at the youth level. His hometown Little League, actually 2 years ago, had gotten on the verge where there was such a lack of interest that it pretty much had folded. And there are numerous reasons for this, but the most of which was because it's pretty cost prohibitive to families, costing families around $150 for the season. So Granderson last year decided out of his own pocket to defray the cost to make it more accessible to the youth in his hometown. It's $25 now to play for a full season if you're ages 4 to 6. It's $50 to play ages 7 through 12. Last year, 30 kids signed up, so that's about 3 teams. This year, 60 kids, because they also added an incentive program, a raffle. If you sign up for the league, you get a raffle ticket, and one of the prizes, a DVD of the movie 42. Curtis Granderson hoping to get the league back where it was when he played, which was up around 200 kids.
Well, that is great stuff. You know, Major League Baseball is trying everything that it can to keep African American kids in baseball rather than in other sports, but it's tough because baseball has become a cost prohibitive sport for a lot of lower income families around the country. Herrera with an ugly hack goes down swinging. Third strikeout for John Niese.
Well, we go from an ugly hack to a most beautiful sunset.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Cesar Hernandez, who struck out his first time up. Right back to Niese on the bunt attempt, and quickly there are 2 out.
Guys, also tonight, Curtis Granderson wearing specially made, the only pair that exists, cleats to honor Jackie Robinson. A Chicago-based graffiti artist actually did the work. Really cool cleats for Curtis Granderson, and after the game he's going to actually auction those off, and the proceeds will go to charity as well.
Go into the Jackie Robinson Foundation, and those are neat.
Yeah, right.
I might put in a bid.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to have those. Well, you see the special plaques on the bases for Jackie Robinson night, which began here on the 50th anniversary of Jackie's ascension to the major leagues. President Clinton was here with Rachel Robinson in 1997, not in this ballpark, but across the parking lot at Shea, and that's how it all got started.
Appropriately in a National League site in New York.
Utley pops one up into shallow left center while Lagares comes in to call, and that retires the side. And needed easy inning for John Niese. He threw just 9 pitches to get him 1-2-3. Still 1-1 at Citi Field. At SNY.TV, featuring pitch-by-pitch coverage, player cards, and in-depth stats. Check out SNY Game Day on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Travis d'Arnaud, newly minted #2 hitter, had a base hit to right field his first time up. Travis now 3 for 9 in this series, facing Jerome Williams in a 1-1 game, and takes the cutter off the plate for ball 1.
I'd have to say Jerome Williams, Ronnie, is a very strategic pitcher. By that I mean he has a purpose for every pitch. And he has to. He hasn't got overpowering stuff.
You see what we're doing graphically tonight? We're doing the good and the bad.
Yes.
Only missing the ugly.
The ugly, right? Well, you got it right here in this booth.
Drilled down the left field line, hooking right toward the pole, and it's out of here! Travis d'Arnaud with his first home run of the season, and he puts the Mets ahead 2-1. Well, David Wright had been hitting second in the order. Wright's out. d'Arnaud takes that spot, and he's loving it.
Sometimes forget how strong this man is, Keith.
Hanging slider, and this is what we've seen last year. 13 home runs last year, most by a Met rookie catcher. And that hanging breaking ball is the ball that he stays back on and he can pull. But basically he's a gap-to-gap hitter. But he's got pop.
That Mets home run means $2,000 for an NYC community partner, courtesy of Citi. So d'Arnaud has his first home run of the year. Now Lucas Duda pulls one into the shift. Utley from the outfield grass makes the play for the first out.
d'Arnaud hit that ball so hard that the person in the first row over the wall couldn't even react on that, or reacted and then shied away because they didn't want to get hurt.
I don't think he was expecting it to get there that quickly. Here's Kadire, who struck out his first time up. d'Arnaud had gone 76 at bats dating back to early September since his last home run. And Kadire fouls one away.
So I was talking about, Keith, check the guy in the front row. He wants a part of this ball. He'd love to bring it home, but almost gets waffled by it.
Good sinker right there from Williams. So go hitting line drives. Keep hitting line drives, Travis. Those home runs will come on their own.
Another chance for Utley on a slow grounder. And there are 2 out.
I've noticed, I don't know if you guys have noticed, Michael Kadire runs hard on everything.
Well, this whole
shows
team,
by example. Yeah,
you know, I tell you what, it's one thing about this Met team under Terry Collins, and Terry's been here for more than a few years. And it's been some disappointing years, is that they hustle. They run everything out. They play hard.
It really is noticeable, isn't it?
It is.
Because that was not always the case with the Mets.
Oh, my goodness.
Fans have the brooms out, hoping for a sweep of the Phillies.
And also because we watch so many games and televise so many games, we see so many other teams that don't do that.
Well, how about the Braves last year? That was really, you never saw that before.
Revere retreating in left field, pulls in Murphy's 5 ball, and that retires the side, but the Mets grab the lead. Travis d'Arnaud lines his first home run of the season. d'Arnaud puts the Mets and John Niese in front 2-1 after 3. Jeff Francoeur grounds the first pitch to shortstop, and Ruben Tejada throws him out, and that's how the fourth inning begins. Can never be late to a Jeff Francoeur at bat.
No, that's right. I did not think of that. He does not let anything pass.
You know, what was he, a Met 5-6 years ago, and he always talked about, I'm going to be more patient this year. I'm going to be more patient. And it's just some guys, they're just hackers, and that's been Frenchie his entire career.
So much to his detriment. You know, I think if he had been more selective, he could have been one of those elite players. That's the kind of athlete he is.
I mean, he drove in 100 or more runs his first 2 full seasons in the big leagues. He's got 141 big league home runs, but a lifetime .309 on base percentage, and that's really set him back.
Well, he was part of that lineup with Chipper Jones and Andrew Jones. He had some hitters there. It'd be in the middle of that lineup.
Punched the other way, but right at Duda. Ruff is retired for the second out.
He always had, Francoeur, a very stiff and awkward swing. But it worked for him his first couple years, and boy, he just it left him.
Is it that, or is it pitchers just figured him out?
I think they figured it out. I really do. They eventually do, the pitchers. If you've got a major flaws, they'll find it.
Here's Cody Ashe taking a curveball for a strike. Ashe rifled a double in the gap in left center his first time up. Now has a 6-game hitting streak, 10 for 19 over the 6 games. So he is really sizzling right now.
Well, Ron, how many more curveballs?
4. I got 4.
4?
I haven't put the line through yet. Looking for number fever.
But that's 2 in a row.
Yes.
Now the changeup pulled foul. Niese ahead 1-2, and it's slashed the other way, and Ashe's got another hit.
Well, I would love to see this. This is just really, really good hitting. He's not a power hitter, and I've just been instructed, folks, you're not going to get a replay. Oh, here we go.
He was teasing you.
So that's good. That's what you call an inside out. Inside out, wanted the ball in the inside corner with 2 strikes, and just inside out like that, and there you go. That's just good hitting. A pitcher's got to shake his head.
He's still falling for Bill Webb's jokes.
I know. I was just playing right along with it, trying to entertain the folks.
Cameron Rupp, but the problem is they never heard Webby tell you there wasn't going to be a replay.
Well,
I've never seen you play the straight man. Very good.
Cameron Rupp singled to left his first time up. 4 hits now for the Phillies against John Niese, and Ashe has half of them. Curveball hit to the right side and through. Another hit for Rupp. So he's 2 for 2. That's your slash, Ronnie.
I just slashed it, and I got fever now. I think what's really important, and we've seen it many, many times before. Maybe Murph can do it because he's probably the senior member of that infield. Jonathan will get a couple of outs or get an out really quickly, and he tries to kind of hustle through that 3rd out, and the next thing you know, they put 2, 3, 4 hits together. Step off the mound, clear your head, and think about the task at hand. Okay, you got an 8th place hitter, albeit a guy who had 184 hits last year, but still have to get out of this inning after getting the first 2 outs.
Well, Revere came up with 1st and 3rd and 1 out in the 2nd inning. A guy who rarely strikes out, and Niese got him. That's the biggest out he's gotten so far. Now he's up with 1st and 2nd and 2 out. Each team now with 5 hits. And Revere gets buzzed. Ball 1. A lot of people asked me today whether I thought there would be any carryover from last night's hit batsman. Revere breaks his bat. Murphy makes the play. We'll talk more about that when we come back next inning. We're celebrating 10 years of Mets baseball on SNY. After the break, we'll go back and relive another one of the thrilling moments from the past. Stay tuned. Brought to you by Pepsi. 3-2 on the way. Struck him out. 8 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez, and that's going to be all for Pedro Martinez.
Well, a great pitching performance by Pedro here. Congratulations to Pedro. Absolutely. Number 200. That's rarefied air right there.
The arrival of Pedro Martinez with the Mets in 2005 brought an entirely different level of panache to this organization. And, you know, he didn't have a lot of big moments as a Met, but he had some special ones.
Well, he is baseball royalty, and that's what the Mets got when he came here. You also got someone that was able to recruit other players to come and play here. He was a winning player, and amazing to be around. I know that there are a lot of behind-the-scenes things that all of us saw with Pedro that showed how much class he has and what amazing guy he is.
He brought a level of professionalism to the ball club when he came here, folks. I cannot tell you. It was wonderful with the press, us up here, just a class act all the way up and down.
And what people might not have known then about Pedro, and they're finding out now, is just how smart he is now that he's on TV and providing his opinions on Turner and on MLB Network. He is he's one of the smarter players who's been around the game in a long time.
Eric Campbell drives one to left field. Ben Revere gets turned around, but he's able to make the catch.
Now Campbell, who ripped a base hit in his first big league at bat of the season, hit that ball even harder, but Revere able to make the play.
Almost got it over his head. Nice readjustment by Revere here. Had it all the way.
You know, to finish up with Pedro, you know, the world has changed for starting pitchers. If you look at his stats, there's italics everywhere, of course. 300 plus strikeouts, you know, shutouts, things of that variety. But all the voters for the Hall of Fame are going to have to change their sights, because it used to be if you won 300, you're in the Hall of Fame. He's 219 and 100, won 19 more games than that 200th game that night, but he's a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame.
It's a no-brainer.
Shoo-in.
I mean, you look at his stats versus the league stats, especially during the last couple of years in Montreal and that stretch in Boston. I mean, the gap between him and the rest of the league, much like Greg Maddux, was just off the charts.
Well, Maddux, what was it, 95? He was 19-2 with a 1.63, I think. It was just a mockery compared to the other pitchers. You were happy to have a 4.5 ERA in the league at that time, at steroid time.
Lagares takes one the other way, and he's got a base hit. 6 base hits now for the Mets, and Lagares is 2 for 2.
2 for 2, and both hits to the opposite field.
Well, earlier today, fans were asked to tweet their memories to @SNYTV using hashtag SNY10years. Today's tweet comes from DR Fonta. At Pedro's 200th win, Juaner Sanchez reliving.
In a taxi.
Well, this is before the taxi.
Okay.
Here's Ruben Tejada.
I laugh at that, but Juaner Sanchez was unbelievable for his time.
Well, there's so much to that when you think back to 2006. Number one is that Pedro was not available for the postseason, and think what a difference that would have made. The other piece is that when Sanchez got hurt, and that one's booted by Ashe, they'll have time to recover and throw out Tejada for the second out as Lagares takes second. When Sanchez got hurt, the Mets then traded Xavier Nady to the Pirates and got Roberto Hernandez, but they also got Oliver Perez, who wound up pitching Game 7 against the Cardinals that year. So, you know, strange things happen over the course of a year, and you don't know what would have gone differently had Pedro been available, had Sanchez not gotten hurt. So now Niese bats with 2 out and a runner at second. Of course, the Mets also lost Orlando Hernandez right on the eve of the postseason, and that
hurt.
That hurt. But when you think about what Oliver Perez did that postseason, I mean, he pitched made 2 starts in that league championship series after being a non-consideration earlier, and he pitched on 3 days rest in Game 7.
It shows you what can happen in this game. Persona non grata 2 years later.
Niese butt into a fielder's choice. Lagares runs, and Niese finds the hole, and that'll bring in a run. Well, I'm not sure where Lagares was going, but he winds up scoring on the base hit by Niese, who drives in his first run of the year, and it's 3-1 New York.
Well, just good hitting by Niese. Ball knee-high outside corner. I don't know why Lagares is running with 2 outs. And not very much range shown by Hernandez at short. Remember, this is only his 3rd start at shortstop.
I think that was one of those cases where neither the shortstop or second baseman were watching him. They're letting him get off 30, 40 feet. I mean, it was a no-brainer for him to take it.
Well, if it's 2 out and the pitcher up, you better make it.
Well, he was going to make it. I mean, he was literally a third of the way when he started to go.
Full shift on against Granderson, the likes of which we really haven't seen. The one infielder on the left side, Hernandez, playing almost behind second base. It's nearly a 4-man shift. And so Granderson takes one the other way. Nicely done by Curtis. Niese pulls in at second, the Mets' 3rd hit of the inning. So the Mets starting to get some really good swings against Jerome Williams.
Well, there's your big shift, and you can see the left side of the infield is no vacancies. Or it's vacant.
Somewhere a advanced scout is getting a phone call from Ruben Amaro right now.
Well, you're kind of getting wise, I think, the Met lineup to Williams out here. This is the 3rd time through the order. You know he's nibbling. He likes to live on the outside corner. If he busts you in, he's not going to come back in there too often. You make adjustments off guys as the game progresses. I think the Mets are kind of getting a bullseye and a bead on this man. There's Ruben Amaro Jr.,
general manager of the Phillies, who's got himself quite a rebuild task with this aging team. Well, here's d'Arnaud, 2 for 2, a single and a home run. Batting here with 2 out and 2 on. And he grounds one down to third. Ashley handles it cleanly and takes it to the bag himself to retire the side. The Mets tack on a run. John Niese with the RBI. 3-1 Mets after 4. On. John Niese, fresh off his RBI single, takes a 3-1 lead to the mound for the 5th inning. He'll face 9-1-2 in the Phillies batting order. Niese gave up a run in the 1st inning. He's had to step around trouble in a couple of other frames, and now he'll take on the pitcher Jerome Williams, leading off in the 5th. Williams hit the ball fairly solidly his first time up, lined out to Murphy, with a couple of men on to end the second. Phillies 1 run, 5 hits. The Mets 3 runs and 8 hits. Odubel Herrera on deck, and then Cesar Hernandez for the Phils. Cut off by Campbell, and he throws out Hernandez, 1 away. Sunday on an all-new Mets Insider, from the first impressions to the overwhelming belief. Get an inside look at all the sights and sounds of opening day on Mets Insider, presented by WB Mason. Sunday at 4, only on SNY. Mets who've had trouble winning in their home ballpark over the last few years, so far unbeaten at home. Last time the Mets swept an opening series at home was in 2012 against the Braves, as Herrera runs up as though to bunt, takes ball 1. In fact, in their entire history, the Mets have only swept 2 opening 3-game series. The first series at home of 3 games, only done twice, in 2012 and in 2005 against Houston. Down the line, over comes Kadire. He'll have to play it on a hop. Traps it against the sidewall. Herrera heads to second, and he slides in safely with a double. Second extra base hit of the night for Odubel Herrera.
Little flare down the left field line. Not much you can do about that.
The only thing I would say is that yesterday Neuenhuis made a really great catch on Herrera down the line deeper, and Kadire now had to go to the line. They're going to have to move the outfielder almost on the line against Herrera. That's where he hits the ball. That's where he's going to get majority of his hits.
So Herrera with a triple scored the only Philly run of the first. Now he's got an opposite field double. And here's Cesar Hernandez, who has struck out and tried to bunt his way on. Niese threw him out the last time up. Murphy makes a run to the bag, but Niese ignores him.
What the heck was almost the balk there by John?
Yeah.
He didn't get off that mound cleanly. Get off it, but he didn't get off cleanly. John again back to that first pitch changeup that we certainly didn't see last year.
Chase Utley on deck. He's protecting a 2-run lead in the 5th. And it's off the plate to Hernandez, 2-0. Cesar Hernandez getting the start at short tonight. Freddie Galvis played the first 2 games of the series. Really hard for the Phillies to score. They scored 5 runs last night, but even with that, they're tied for last in the National League in runs scored, just 2.6 runs per game. And it has Ryan Sandberg trying to figure out how to put his lineup together. And you know, the biggest question mark surrounds Ryan Howard. I mean, Howard, there's ball 4 to Hernandez, and Utley will come up with 2 men on. That's the first walk for Niese, and certainly not a man he wanted to walk.
And not even close. All missed up and away, Ronnie.
Yeah, he's telling him to get his arm up. You had it right, Keith.
Yep.
Go up and tell him. He's getting his arm down. What happens for John is he gets a little lazy and that arm drops. And not only that, his hand drops. And I don't know if I can explain it to you guys, but instead of getting on top of the ball, he gets on the side of the ball. When he gets on the side of the ball, it just is up and away.
You don't want to walk Hernandez. He's struggling 2 for 12 with that at bat. Now you got the meat of the order and a very dangerous veteran hitter here in Utley.
Utley drove in the only Philly run with a ground out in the first inning, fly down in the 3rd. Bats here with the tying runs on base and 1 out, and he drops down a bunt. Campbell charging, makes the bare hand play and throws out Utley. Well, Utley, that's a strange call. The Mets were not shifting against him, where they were giving him a base hit.
Oh my God! I don't believe that Chase did this. He's the one bat. He's one of the big bats in the lineup. Your 3rd hitter. You got to swing the bat.
I mean, that's not Anthony Recker at third base. Campbell knows how to play there.
Nice scoop, Lucas.
They're going to give him a sacrifice for that?
No, it can't be.
And they just announced no sacrifice,
Right.
and properly so.
Yes.
So now Frank Cora with second and third and 2 out. That's one that will certainly get a lot of scrutiny after the game.
Wow. And you do realize we found out that Ryan Sandberg in that play last night did put the safety squeeze on.
Yes, he did with the pitcher on third base.
It's shocking. Buchanan.
With Freddie Galvis at the plate, and he fouled out. I mean, that's just it's hard to believe.
Yep.
1-1 to Frank Cora, who's 0 for 2, and Niese throws him the changeup outside, 2-1.
Although Rhino was on a team, Keith, you were there too, where the Cubs hit and run with the bases loaded with Vance Law at the plate.
Who was the manager?
Don Zimmer.
Thank you.
And he did that more than once.
And that blew up on him in the playoffs, if you recall.
Talking about 1989. Nice stop by d'Arnaud to keep Herrera at third.
Worked all year for Don Zimmer, and it's a little bit different when you're in a playoff in front of the in a big spot.
I mean,
doing that
hit and run with the bases loaded, it's a terrible play, even if it works.
Yep.
So what you're saying is he got lucky a few times and his luck ran out. But the bunt by Utley, very strange.
Yep.
3-1 now to Frank Cora. With Darren Ruff on deck, and he takes a walk. First walk of the season for Jeff Francoeur, and now the bases are loaded.
Well, this is what we see. That's going to get Dan Warthen out to the mound, and rightly so. But we see Niese all of a sudden, Ron, over the years, just have a blow-up inning.
Well, that has always been John's problem, is to minimize the damage. His team has scored a run in the bottom of the fourth. It's made it 3-1. He's got 2 outs now. Can he make the pitch to make the big out? In the course of the game, I've said it many times, there's 4 or 5 outs you've got to get if you're going to win the game. This is one of them for Niese.
Now, Ron, you talked about him dropping his elbow, and that's why he's had these last 2 walks. He's had the shoulder issues. If you have a barking shoulder, would that make you drop your elbow?
It might, except he told Terry Collins and he's told the world, I've come into this season the healthiest I've been in some while.
Darren Ruff with the bases loaded, breaks his bat, lines it right to Campbell, side retired. Caught that ball in foul territory. 3 line drive outs for Ruff tonight, and he leaves him loaded in the 5th. Halfway through, 3-1 Mets.
Well, if you've been watching us for a while, you know that periodically we like to bring you closer to the folks who help us behind the scenes at SNY, and that was our crew video of the week. Lucas Duda hits a long one to right center, headed toward the wall, and it's out of here. A long home run for Lucas Duda, his first of the year, and the Mets now have a 4-1 lead. Inspired by Joe Cephalo on the crew video of the week, Lucas Duda cracks one into the old seats in right center. Slurp.
Well, no doubt that Lucas belongs in the big leagues. This was a bomb.
30 home runs last year, his first of 2015.
Oh boy, and that's a pitch on the outer half, and that is a rocket launcher.
And again, Keith, like the first at bat, jumping on that first pitch, he is not allowing that pitcher to get ahead of him with that meatball fastball.
Well, that has been a big change in philosophy with the Met hitting, with the new hitting coach Kevin Long here, with a lot more aggressiveness under the last hitting coach. A lot of taking first pitches and taking and getting deep in counts. Not this year.
Kadire had a great phrase about what the Mets are trying to do, or the hitters of the Mets. Selective aggressiveness. I like that phrase. It means anytime, anywhere, select the pitch you want to swing at. If you get it, whether it's first pitch or fourth pitch, go get it.
Well, that Mets home run for Lucas Duda means another $2,000 for an NYC community partner, courtesy of Citi. That's got out homered last night 4-1, but they've hit a pair tonight, and they've now scored in 4 straight innings and lead 4-1. Daniel Murphy on deck. Two from Jerome Williams, and the breaking ball hit down the left field line, hooking, fair ball into the corner. Kadire goes to second. I think he thought it was foul, but now he speeds up and pulls into second base. That ball just staying fair.
Ooh.
Right on the chalk.
Just caught the outside of the chalk.
Let's see.
It's fair, Keith. Hits the chalk right there.
Yep, just got it. As close as it gets.
But Johnny McCann would have said that's ball in.
Kadire slowed up, thinking perhaps that ball had gone foul. No matter, he was able to make it to second easily.
Very surprised. He has to get someone up in that bullpen before the game gets out of hand.
They're thinking about it. They were thinking about a challenge.
You got to get
fair foul call.
This game is about to be blown out of the gym. You got a guy out there on borrowed time.
Mets now have 10 hits, back-to-back extra base hits to start this 5th inning. And now Murphy has been up twice and flied out both times. And Murphy will advance the runner. Utley, trouble with it, but makes the play. But Kadire over to third with 1 out. So a productive out for Murph. 5th inning recap brought to you by JetBlue. Jonathan Niese gave up a run in the first, but 4-0 since then. And he's driven in one himself. D'Arnaud and Duda with home runs, and the Mets looking to sweep this series out to a 4-1 lead. And now looking for more with Kadire at third and 1 out, and Eric Campbell, who's scorched 2 balls, coming to the plate.
Remember last year when we saw Eric, when he got in RBI situations, he doesn't mind hitting the ball to the right side.
Infield in, and Campbell takes inside from Williams. Campbell ripped a base hit to left field and scored in the second, then hit a bullet to left that Revere was able to track down in the 4th. Picking up where he left off in Vegas, where he was hitting .550. Grounds that one foul behind Kadire, and it's 1-1. Campbell last year 85 games with the Mets at .263. Now 28 years old, just turned 28 the other day. Foul tips the cutter, and it's 1-2.
Well, let's see if Williams has the guts to do what he has to do here in this situation. Either strikeout or pop up. The only way to do that, up and in, or in at least. He goes back away.
Slowly hit. Ashe charging, throwing home. It hits the runner, and Kadire scores. Campbell hits to second, and he'll make it safely. 5-1 New York. Ashe just had no angle, and he hit Kadire, and the Mets get a run.
He had no angle, and he had no idea of how to kind of carve the throw. Where you throw sidearm to get it to kind of loop around the runner.
You know, the problem there is that the way he's coming in, Cameron Rupp has to be on the other side of the plate. He's got to have his right foot against the plate in foul territory, making him a big target inside, so it makes it easier for him to throw and tag the other way, not the conventional way.
It's almost like a play at first base, Ronnie, where a ball down the line. The catcher could have gone on the outside in foul territory. Ashe, and I stand corrected on Ashe. He had no angle. He had to throw across the line.
All right, anybody know who that is?
That's Mr. DeFreitas.
Okay. I mean, he's wearing number 42.
And I could be wrong. That's just inexperience there. I mean, you know, that's an easy play for any infielder. That's what you got to do. You have to help your other infielder have a sight to throw, a path to throw. Rupp did not do that.
Fielder's choice, error on Ashe, no RBI for Campbell. Mets now have a 5-1 lead. Lagares the batter. He's 2 for 2. He's driven in a run and he scored a run. Well, you also have to credit the base running of Kadire, who ran on the extreme inside of the line. That's properly so.
I like the aggressive play too on contact.
That's baseball 101. You know, you got to try to get in the way of the throw by staying in the line. So the fault on the play, and Ronnie nailed it right on the button, was the catcher Rupp not setting up outside in foul territory, giving him a better target. Phillies are in for a long year, folks.
Williams living on borrowed time. Ball and a strike to Lagares with Ruben Tejada on deck.
Tried to get timeout, but he's ready to hit. You can never assume that the umpire is going to give it to you.
Dan Molino, the home plate umpire, said no. Comfortable evening at Citi Field, 64 degrees right now.
Beautiful. You'd love these days in April when you play.
Sure beats those 30s and 40s.
I was going to say, instead of 64, 46.
Mm-hmm. 1-2 from Williams, and Lagares pops one up. Frank Hoare coming in to call. And that's the second out. Campbell stays at second. So now 2 out of the inning. First time Lagares has been retired tonight, and Ruben Tejada will come to bat. Ruben is 1 for 2, dumped a single into right field in the second, grounded out in the fourth. Just getting a start tonight. Nothing wrong with Wilmer Flores after Wilmer got hit on the hand last night. He'll be back in the lineup tomorrow night when the Mets entertain the Marlins for the first time this season. 4-game series coming up with Miami. Tejada getting the intentional pass that'll bring up Niese, who drove in a run with a base hit his last time up. So this will be the first walk of the night for Jerome Williams.
They must be trying to save a bullpen or something. They're leaving this guy in a long time. And this game is just about ready to get out of hand. 1 base hit.
To know who the top 10 in intentional base on balls in all of baseball were the last couple of years. Mr. Tejada would be up there amongst the leaders.
It's one of the reasons he had a .342 on base percentage last year.
In my prime,
goes to first.
My prime, I'd be appalled to have to walk the 8th place hitter.
You never saw it in your day with 2 out. It's become commonplace in the last 20 years or so, but it never happened when you guys were playing.
I mean, embarrassed.
Yeah. You know what? It changed. It changed during the era where everybody was a home run threat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a different deal. The 8th place hitter was a home run threat. You're right, Gary.
Niese at a base hit to left field to drive in a run in the fourth. 2 out and 2 on, and John takes a strike.
I was too busy mending my wounds after that, during that period.
John's RBI was the 15th of his career. He's now 2 for 4 to start the season. Very different beginning to the year for the Met pitchers at the plate. Grounded down to Ruff at first, and he takes it himself to end the inning. So the Mets settle for 2 runs in the 5th. Lucas Duda, first pitch swinging, his first home run of the season, a long blast, and the Mets after 5 have a 5-run lead over the Phillies. First likely of many for Mr. Rizzo this year.
I think what would be the right field bleachers and right. That was a good call.
Later this year, they'll be there. Cody Ashe's 2 for 2. John Niese now with a 4-run lead. Ball and a strike to Ashe.
They said the left field bleachers will be there when we go there on May 11th.
Right. And then the right field bleachers, they think sometime in June. Curveball for a strike. Did you make another mark?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Wasn't paying attention.
What are you up to now?
7.
All right, so that's more than he threw in his last start.
Yeah, big time.
And right back with the curve, but Ashe is on that. And he's got his 3rd hit of the night. He is hitting everything. 6 for 10 now in this series.
This is a hanging curveball up and in, kind of crowding him. Look, he just stays level. That's what he's doing. That's really well right now. He's not a power hitter. Beautiful line drive swing.
People's United Bank brings us your starting pitching lines tonight, and John Niese has had much the better of it. He's allowed 7 hits in 5 innings plus, but just the 1 run, as the Phillies have stranded 7 runners in the first 5 innings. Here's Cameron Rupp, double play ball right at Tejada, but he boots it, and everybody's safe. Should have been 2 outs, but the Mets get no outs.
Gets in front of it. Ball came up a tad. Just hit hard and the ball came up. Got in front. Was using 2 hands.
What's with the shortstops all over baseball this year?
Well,
led by Ian Desmond.
Oh my gosh, Desmond's just off to a miserable start defensively.
Nats finally won a game today. They outscored Boston 10-5. But largely because of their defense. They're just 3-6 to start the year. So the first two men on against Niese in the sixth. The number 8 hitter Ben Revere, who is 0 for 2, bluffs the bunt and takes outside ball 1.
I want to say that's Freddie Galvis. I'm going to guess, Gary. I could be wrong. Just jumping out there.
It's one day of the year when it's a little hard sometimes to identify players.
Let's go for the spikes. Can we get a shot of the spikes? Sometimes you can see the number.
I think he's wearing number 9 on his spikes, but that's Dominic Brown, and he's on the disabled list. Maybe it's 6. 6. No, Brian Howard's number 6. Forget that.
Maybe he's size 9 at the bowling alley. That's what they look like, those shoes.
Two and one to Revere. Campbell in on the grass at third, and Revere grounds one toward the hole, but Duda's got it, gets the out at second. No relay by Tejada with the speed of Revere, so they take the first out as Rupp is erased. 3-6 on the force play.
Lucas is very quick with his footwork on this play, and it's something we see whenever he has the opportunity. So he has really got it down. This is all you can do. There's no wasted motion. Good solid throw. Just Revere runs too fast.
Well, we've identified the pinch hitter. It's Andres Blanco, who is normally number 4, but like everybody else is wearing number 42 today. Blanco a switch hitter. 3 for 8 to start the year. 1 for 3 as a right-hand batter. So it wasn't Dominic Brown. It wasn't Freddie Galvis. It wasn't Ryan Howard.
I went with the facial hair. That's it.
So it's Andres Blanco, first and third, and 1 out. Niese has done a terrific job of sidestepping trouble tonight. Let's see if he can do it again.
Very shallow outfield for the Mets.
Ashe is on third, the speedy Revere at first, and he jams him. It's popped up. Darno coming back, but that's going to be back in the crowd. Good pitch by Niese, running that cutter in on Blanco. Number 42 up in the bullpen.
I'm sticking with the Freitas. I'll go 0 for 2 if I have to.
It's great that Major League Baseball honors Jackie Robinson in this way, but could they put the names on the jerseys with the 42s? Would that be okay?
Nice block by Darno. Short hop.
1 and 2 to Blanco. Just got a piece of that. Odubel Herrera is on deck.
Back to Niese, has a chance for 2. And Murphy steps in front of Tejada and turns a 1-6-3 into a 1-4-3.
A little lack of communication around the bag for the middle infielders, but no harm, no foul.
It's always the shortstop's ball.
And Niese gets out of trouble again. straight night for the Phillies.
You were saying, Gary, he's threw 28 pitches last night and right back out there in a game that the Phillies are losing by 4. DeFreitas is one of their main guys in that bullpen, especially long man.
Top of the batting order for the Mets. Curtis Granderson leads off. Granderson 1 for 3 on the night. And again, they put on the big shift against Curtis, who took one the other way for a hit his last time up. And DeFreitas misses low and in for ball 1.
Curtis starting to slowly get it going here. He's been hitting in tough luck, but starting to get his base hits.
The last inning, the last time up, Granderson had his first opposite field hit of the season. Last year, only 14 of his 128 hits went to left field. But he's been hitting the ball the other way a lot in the early season. Remember, he was robbed on that great catch by Revere in the first game of this series in left field.
Well, if you're 2-1 with a shift, if I'm pitching, Gary, I got to throw something soft. I have to have him pull it. It almost takes away my sinker away, because he can just go that way.
But how
like
about from Granderson's standpoint, though? You're leading off the inning. It's 2-1. Drop down a bunt.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm taking that out of play. I'm just thinking that as a pitcher, 2-1, my first inclination is to run the ball away. That's my best pitch, and I can't really use it because if he goes that way, it's an automatic hit.
And by the way, Gary, I agree with you 100%. It's a leadoff situation. It's a 5-1 game. All you got to do is put it down to third base line. You're leading off, get it going. It's a gimme.
You're talking about no strikes, 1 strike.
Right, not now.
Not now, with 2 strikes,
right, but
obviously.
at 2-1,
yeah.
Why not?
Why not do it the first pitch? My goodness.
Oh.
Good look.
Full count to Granderson with d'Arnaud and Duda to follow in the home 6th. Mets have scored in each of the last 4 innings. Home runs by d'Arnaud and Duda to build a 5-1 lead. Jerome Williams out after 5 innings. John Niese has done well to get himself out of trouble. And that strike 3 call. Granderson thought he had another walk, but Dan Bellino said that DeFreitas found the inside corner.
I think he did. Unintentionally. Catcher set up away, come across the other part of the plate. That's a strike. Good call. We'll see if it got the corner. I'm sure it did. It certainly did.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Travis d'Arnaud elevated to the 2-hole with David Wright out. David placed on the disabled list today with a hamstring strain. Sandy Alderson said before the game that realistically the Mets expect David to be out 3 weeks. See how that works out.
Well, one thing you don't want is a re-injury, because then it's 6 weeks. So it's a lot of season left.
d'Arnaud has to vacate.
That'll get him to dance.
Well, Murphy hurt his hamstring on March 19th, came back on April 6th. That's 20 days. That's the 3-week period you're talking about.
Well, you guys would know this better than I would. Does the fact that David had a serious hamstring injury to the same leg 2 years ago affect his recovery time this time?
That I'm not sure about, Gary. You don't know how much scar tissue still remains. We know, do you ever really fully get rid of the scar tissue? I mean, I had pulled hamstring and I have pulled torn quad as well as a torn calf. And every now and again, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have a cramp in my left calf. I still have scar tissue there.
Foam roller. And that's ball 4, a little low to d'Arnaud, so he's on base for the 3rd time tonight. Well, it's a 4-game series with the Marlins starting tomorrow night. Dylan G and Jared Cozart tomorrow. Bartolo Colon with the new dad, David Phelps, on Friday. Jacob deGrom Saturday night against the struggling Matt Latos. And Matt Harvey makes his return to the mound Sunday afternoon against the local guy, Tom Kohler. This afternoon, the Marlins won their 2nd straight, beating the Braves 6-2. Which means, by the way, that if the Mets win tonight, they'll be tied for first place.
9 games in.
Yeah. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs for more on the Marlins. Steve?
Well, Gary, they now have scored 14 runs in the last 2 games. They're starting to play a little bit better, and that was led last night by the resurgence of Giancarlo Stanton, who had a 4 RBI night. The big story with Stanton, though, last night was he finally ditched the face mask in the 9th inning, facing left-hander Andrew McKirahan. He didn't wear that face mask that he's been wearing since getting hit in the face at the end of last season. Today, did not wear it again against another lefty, Eric Stultz. After the game yesterday, he intimated he won't be wearing it that often against left-handers, probably wearing it mostly against righties. Of course, he faces 4 righties coming up against the Mets. We'll see what happens when Blevins, Torres, or Gilmartin comes into the game.
And Duda drives one to the gap in left center field, and that's going to go all the way back to the wall. Darno racing for third. He's being waved around. And Darno scores without a throw. Lucas Duda with his 2nd RBI of the night brings one home with a double to stretch the Met lead to 6-1.
Darno runs pretty nicely for a catcher, doesn't he, Steve?
He certainly does. And Lucas gets his 4th double here of the season. Going with the pitch. Love what I see.
There's so many knocks out there. If the Mets continue to hit it against the defense.
Well, Darno is swift of foot.
That's no Eddie Ott right there. He's flying.
It's 5 RBIs the last 2 nights for Duda. Tonight, a home run to right center, a double to left center. Now Michael Kadire takes a slider for a strike.
There you go. Lucas, you belong. You are a big leaguer.
Not only that, he's turning into one of the most dangerous hitters in this league.
Yes.
Kadire 1 for 3, doubled his last time up, and he pops it up into shallow center. And Herrera is right there to play it for the 2nd out. So 2 away. Daniel Murphy coming up. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Well, here's Murphy, who's 0 for 3 at the plate tonight. And he's going to get an intentional pass with first base open. And while DeFreitas intentionally walks him, I want to know about this. What exactly happened here in the last half inning?
Well, it's always the shortstop's ball. Why? Unless he's... When they're both there and they both can cover, it's the shortstop. There should be communication between your middle infielders. Now, we don't know if there was communication. It's a much easier play for the shortstop to come across with momentum towards first base than the second baseman to have to make the turn. Niese did everything right, Ron.
He did, but what happens before that play happens, it doesn't happen when the play happens. It happens before. And Murph, we know, he's been around here long enough. He's always in the middle of the action. What you do as a pitcher is before that pitch is thrown, you look at your infielders and say, who do I have? And they tell you with their glove, you got me. All right? And once you hear that, then you're fine. When the ball's hit back at you, you pick up that player. Now, what Niese did is that he picked up Tejada. He saw where he was going to be. He knew that throwing it at the bag would intercept Tejada perfectly, and then Murph came streaking across.
So
because they call him the streak. No, right. He just came streaking right across the bag.
It's just lack of communication, and that's something that's not going to wear well with the manager.
Eric Campbell bats with 2 out and 2 on.
You know, Gary, like I'm telling you, when the ball back to me like that, if I'm throwing to Tejada, I wouldn't even see Murph because I'm just concentrating on Ruben.
And aren't you basically throwing the ball to the bag anyway?
Not always, because if you catch a real quick comebacker, you could beat the infielder to the bag. So you've got to time it. Now, I've thrown it to the bag where you put a little air under it because you want him to have time to get there. I mean, if it's a bullet at you, then you have to take that nice crow hop and then throw a strike. But you don't just automatically throw it at the bag. I played with Howard Johnson and Kevin Mitchell at shortstop, where it seems like you're waiting an eternity because they were inexperienced at the position. Now, if you threw to Elster or Raphael, then you didn't have to worry about it.
Well, fortunately for the Mets, the lack of communication did not cost them. They were still able to turn the double play. 3-0 to Campbell. And he takes a strike. Campbell 1 for 3 in his return to the big leagues. Operating on 3 hours sleep. He's done just fine. Hit a couple of balls very hard.
He'll sleep well tonight.
Yes, indeed. Always better sleep in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Duda at second, Murphy at first with 2 down. And Campbell takes a strike, 3-2.
But the final caveat on all that is that it's funny now because they turned to double play. But you have to iron that out because it's not funny when you're playing a game in September to mean something.
Exactly.
And that play goes into center field.
Precisely.
Duda and Murphy get set to run. 3-2 from DeFreitas to Campbell. And he fouls away the slider to stay alive. Jerome Williams went 5 innings, allowed 5 runs, 4 earned, 10 hits, an intentional walk, only 1 strikeout, and 2 home runs. Phillies rotation certainly is a cause for concern. They should have Chad Billingsley back in the next few weeks. Of course, Billingsley's a wild card because he hasn't pitched in 2 years, coming back from 2 elbow surgeries, but he was a quality pitcher before he got hurt. Again, the 3-2, and Campbell fouls another one away. Now, once you get past Cole Hamels and maybe Aaron Harang in that rotation, there's a lot of question marks.
They just were coming into the season where they had to somehow get rid of Ryan Howard and Cole Hamels. You know, Philadelphia Philly fans love those players, but they had to because they had to replenish. They sort of had to do what John Hart did, and they weren't able to do it because the contracts are so meaty.
Up the middle, but the shortstop Hernandez gets over there and throws out Campbell to end the inning. Mets settle for 1 run on Duda's second RBI of the night. 6-1 Mets after 6. Not quite as many tonight, but still more than we're used to seeing him.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought of him as a guy that throws it a half dozen times a game, but obviously in his first 2 starts, the changeup is going to be a bigger part of his repertoire in 2015.
4th time around the batting order now for John as he faces Odubel Herrera, who's had his number tonight. Herrera tripled to right center and scored the only Philly run in the 1st, and then he doubled down the left field line in the 5th. John tonight has been a master of working himself out of trouble. 8 runners left on base for the Phillies in the first 6 innings. Let's get Alex Torres, the left-hander, Carlos Torres, the right-hander. Same last name, same number. Pulled down to first. Duda can't quite make the diving stop.
And Herrera's got his 3rd extra base hit of the night. So the rookie Rule 5 pick, Odubel Herrera, having himself quite a night against the left-hander.
Big leg kick, too much plate, pulls it right down the line, just out of the reach of Lucas. Impressive day for the young man.
So now Cesar Hernandez with a runner at second and nobody out. Hernandez 0 for 2 and a walk. And he pulls one toward the hole. Tejada lays out the diving stop, but no throw. Holding at second, Herrera. So it's an infield hit for Hernandez. And the Phillies have runners at first and second.
Well, nice stop here by Ruben, huh, Keith?
Nice stop, and it also prevents the runner from advancing to third base.
An inexperienced infielder might try to throw that to first. He held on to it like you're supposed to.
Good base running by Herrera.
Anything to your right, you stay there. Once Tejada made the play, if he would have thrown that, he would have tried to proceed to third.
So now Chase Utley, who did something his last time up that left us all scratching our heads. The Phillies had first and second and 1 out, and Utley for some reason tried to bunt for a hit and was thrown out by Eric Campbell.
And the Mets are saying, go ahead, bunt if you like, do us a favor. He's not going to bunt.
Well, when we came in, we had the number that Utley's hitting around 100 against Jonathan Niese, and maybe he was not giving himself up, but saying, hey, this guy owns me. Let me try to do something different. But a bad time to do it.
At the time, the Phillies were down 3-1, so it served to get the tying runs into scoring position, but the Phils did not score in that inning. And Niese runs one on the inside corner, a strike, 1-1.
I think you have to ask yourself a question. If you're the hitter and you say to yourself, if I try a bunt here, is that going to help the team, or am I just taking the onus off me and putting it on someone else?
Well, you remember all the grief that Carlos Beltran got when he was a Met, and
he would do it with no outs, though.
Right, which makes a whole lot more sense. But the feeling was with Carlos, you know, he got a huge contract. He was brought here to be an RBI guy, and people didn't like the fact that he was bunting.
But he'd also had come from a place where he batted second, and I think he batted second in the playoffs for the Houston Astros when he had that monster October.
Niese ahead on Utley, 1-2. And this is with a curveball. So Utley with his 0 for 3 tonight. Now 3 for 31 in his career against John Niese. And those are by far the worst numbers Utley has against any pitcher he's faced at least 20 times.
Well, this isn't a bat right here. If you're a hitter, you can get your club back in the ball game. Good 2-strike hitter, Utley. Let's see what happens here.
2-2. Just off the plate. 3-2.
He missed a curve earlier in the game, right down the middle. He popped it up. But I don't know, with this kind of lead that John can use that pitch, I would think some cutter or fastball away.
Jeff Francoeur on deck. First 2 men aboard against Niese in the 7th. Phillies now with 9 hits. 3-2 to Utley.
Struck him out. Foul tip held by Darno. That's the first out of the inning.
Big strikeout. Had a lot of plate run, but the sink got under his bat.
Decided instead of the cutter to go with the 2-seamer. And just enough inside to elude the bat of Chase Utley.
4th strikeout of the night for Niese, and that's going to be the last pitch he throws. With Francoeur coming up, the Mets will bring in Carlos Torres. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Niese working around trouble all night.
and night. What a beautiful shot, huh?
You can do it all.
Now, John Niese gave up 9 hits and 2 walks, but only 1 run so far over 6 1/3 as he takes his exit after 94 pitches. It's presented by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter promo code NYM for free entry. Now entering Carlos Torres. Jeff Francoeur stays in to face him and takes up and away for ball 1.
Third appearance for Carlos. He loves to get the ball. He's one of those rubber arm guys. Loves to work.
Got 2 outs in the home opener on Monday. Double play ball right at Tejada. He handles it cleanly this time. Murph makes the turn. 6-4-3 double play sign retired. Torres throws 2 pitches, gets 2 outs. Night with Dylan G on the mound against Jared Cosart right here on SNY. That's tomorrow night. Tonight's starting pitcher John Niese is standing by with Steve Gelb. Steve.
Thanks, Gary. John, when you were coming up here through the steps, you let out a nice little roar. How good did you feel about tonight's outing?
It was good. You know, you'll take quality starts. Obviously our offense did a great job, and you know, it wasn't my best stuff. You know, kind of a chilly night, windy night, but you know, I'll take it.
You didn't really use the curveball all that much in Atlanta. Mixed it in a little bit more tonight. Was that a game plan thing that you wanted to get back to using the curveball tonight?
Yeah. You know, it's kind of about what pitches I feel good with that day, and I felt pretty good with the curveball. Cutter not so much. Like, didn't have a very good feel for that today, but you know, I'm going to keep working and, you know, get them next time.
John, how important a pitch is the curveball for you moving forward this season in general to your success?
It's big because, you know, it's such a big change of speeds from my fastball and my curveball that keeps hitters off balance and get a lot of quick outs that way too.
All right, let's talk about a couple of these at bats that you got in and out of trouble in the 5th inning. Bases loaded, Ruff at the plate, a little bit of a break. Dan Worthing comes out and you get him to break his bat. What was the approach against Ruff there?
I was just going to throw a first pitch cutter in. You know, I knew he was probably going to be aggressive, and fortunately I got it in there, broke his bat, and Soup made a great play. What about in the 6th against Blanco? Be honest here. When you're turning around, throwing it to second base, and you're seeing Murphy and Tejada converge, what are the thoughts? Well, I was just trying to get it over the base. I was hoping for the best, and Murph made an outstanding play. Obviously, you're pretty happy with the pitching performance, but hey, you got another hit tonight, and that was a piece of professional hitting behind Juan Lagares there. Was that intentional? Did you see him going? You were trying to hit behind him? I see him going through my peripheral vision, and I just saw the ball, and he threw it away, so I took it away.
All right, John Niese, Bartolo Colon, getting it done at the dish this season. Thanks, John.
All right, thanks.
Gary.
All right, thanks very much, Steve. Ruben Tejada at the plate after Lagares grounded out to start this 7th inning against Dustin McGowan, the new Phillies pitcher, working for his 2nd straight day.
These are the kind of games usually that you will use some of your guys that are deeper in the bullpen, Gary, you know, with a losing by 5 runs. We saw McGowan last night. Good slider. There's Alex Torres.
Tejada's been on base twice with a single and an intentional walk. Kirk Neuenhuis out on deck to bat for Carlos Torres. Phillies double switched when they brought McGowan in. They brought Grady Sizemore in to play right field, so Sizemore's batting 9th, and the pitcher hitting 4th for the Phillies as Frank Hoare came out. And now it's 3-1. There's Sizemore. So ball 4 to Tejada, and the Mets have a 1-out base runner. And now Neuenhuis to pinch hit.
Nice work by Torres, right?
Hey, 2 pitches, double play.
Economical. Neuenhuis came off the bench last night after Kadire was forced to leave the game. Kirk went 0 for 3, but made a great catch in left field. Still looking for his first hit of the season. And he takes below the knees from McGowan.
Kirk needs a knock, big time.
He 1 ball hard last night. His last time up, lined out to center field. Utley gets the out at second. Hernandez's relay not nearly in time to get Neuenhuis. So a 4-6 force for the second out. So Tejada erased. Neuenhuis aboard with 2 down, and now Curtis Granderson up for the 5th time. Granderson's gone 1 for 4 tonight.
Sorry, Gary, I almost cut you off there. Apologize. I was just thinking as Neuenhuis grounded out there, I wasn't successful in the pinch hit at bat, but with the game way it is, 6-1 Mets, he could, especially after Kadire got hit on the hand last night, go in for defense.
It's something that Terry Collins has not done yet this year, and you know, we've watched Michael Kadire now for 9 games, and it's clear that he does not move well in left field. But the Mets have such a limited bench, it's hard for Terry to make defensive replacements without compromising his ability to make further moves.
Well, I'm not a fan of the 4-man bench. I think it shorthands Terry. It does give obviously more depth in the bullpen. Kadire will hit in the 8th inning, if not this inning. I think if Kadire hits this inning, then you can leave Neuenhuis in the game.
All right.
Taken the other way, and Granderson's got another opposite field hit, his 2nd of the night. Now they keep shifting, and Granderson keeps beating it by going the other way.
Well, you see, there's just no one on the left side of the infield here. So he's not just slapping the ball to left field. He is hitting the ball hard to left field. I think what Curtis has realized now, Gary, is that he is not playing, and there's Kevin Long, the hitting coach. He's not playing 81 games at Yankee Stadium with the wind blowing out to right, that he has to alter his approach to hitting 81 days in
so
this
what's
ballpark.
What's going to happen weekend after next when we go to the Bronx?
Well,
does he change for 3 days?
He had a great series last year there, didn't he?
Here's Darno taking a slider off the plate.
Just look in and spin. I think, one, Curtis had to change his kind of approach, being the leadoff hitter right off the bat. So he knew he had to get on base. But this is nothing new from spring training, right? We saw many base hits from Curtis to the left side in spring.
Well, I've been stunned at how severe the Phillies have played a shift against him. And it was notable that the first 2 teams the Mets played this year, the Nats and the Braves, did not shift that way against Granderson, almost as though they had looked at his spring training results and taken them to heart.
Well, they not only looked at it, but they saw it. They saw it with their own 2 eyes, because, you know, where the Mets play now, they play everyone, seems like 7 or 10 times. It's about 6 or 7 times against the Nats and the Cardinals, Marlins.
Well, they play everybody in their division except the Phillies, who are on the other coast of Florida over in Clearwater.
3-0 count, and no one up in the bullpen, and little Luke lurking in the on-deck circle.
You love that, don't you?
Yes, I do.
d'Arnaud has had a big day already. A single, a home run, a walk. He scored 2 runs.
So this is a very fine pitch to hit. 8 RBI on the season for d'Arnaud. Red hot, a home run tonight, his first of the year. This is a very great situation for him right now.
2 out and 2 on, and d'Arnaud pops it up. Shortstop Hernandez circling under it, and that retires the side. So the Mets leave a pair in the 7th. On to the 8th we go at Citi Field with the Mets up 5. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Cure Auto. 25 years of saving you money. Cure Auto Insurance. Drive well. By StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the New York Mets. And by your Tri-State BMW centers. Alex Torres comes on to pitch for New York.
Well, we've seen Alex so far. Forget about the ERA. It happens sometimes for relievers early in the season. But we've seen him with a good fastball, outstanding changeup, power changeup. But his control has been the issue so far.
Pitched a better inning his last time out against the Braves 4 days ago. Faces Darren Ruff leading off in the 8th inning. Ruff is 0 for 3 tonight. The hottest hitter tonight for the Phillies, and really in this series, Cody Ashe waits on deck. Jerry Blevins, next man up in the Mets bullpen. And Torres quickly behind 2-0.
He's had his issues right now, Torres, with finding the plate.
You know, we were talking earlier about the Phillies as they try to remake themselves. And one of the issues is if Ryan Howard stays and plays, the Phillies never get a chance to find out what they really have in Darren Ruff, who's kind of like their Lucas Duda. You know, guy's 28 now, and they're not quite sure what they have as he walks on 4 pitches to start this 8th inning.
It's a good call. I never even thought about it like that, Gary. A guy that has been in the minor leagues. He's played behind others. Remember, Ryan Howard spent a lot of time in the minor leagues because he was behind Jim Thome.
Precisely.
Waiting for his turn. That's why he started so late.
Yep.
I mean, Ruff was a guy who had a lot of home runs in the minor leagues. He was hurt a lot last year and really never got his season going. Here's Ashe, who's 3 for 3 tonight. And Alex Torres continues to have trouble throwing strikes. Well, there's the last few years for Ryan Howard after he blew out his Achilles in the playoffs in 2011. And it just has not been the same guy who won a couple of MVP awards. 58 home runs in his best season.
You know, just to me, he's almost limited to one league if you decide to trade him. Got to put him someplace where he can play first base occasionally, but really becomes a designated hitter.
Well, the question then becomes, is he a good enough hitter to be a designated hitter? Well, I mean, right now he seems to have so many vulnerabilities.
23 and 95, you can't totally scoff at that, right? I mean, there's a lot of people out there you'd like to get 23 and 95 from. That being said, when you come back from 50 plus and 140 plus, it pales in comparison.
I just felt he always had he's just so strong. He was playing in a very, very perfect ballpark for him where he could hit it out in any direction. And I'm not disparaging him. He's a 2-time MVP. He's had, 58 home runs, as Gary said. But he had a flawed swing. And when guys get older and they lose a little bit of that reflex, he never really had a very quick bat. They are the guys that usually go quick. They fall off a cliff, and all of a sudden they disappear. And I'm fearful. That's not the right word. I have my suspicions that that's what's happening to Ryan Howard. Now, the Achilles tendon is a horrific injury, and I'm sure that has a lot of effect on his hitting at the plate.
3-2 to Ashe, and a check swing foul. So if you're the Phillies, what do you do? I mean, you owe them $60 million for this year, next year, and the buyout for 2017. It's almost impossible to trade him without eating almost all of that salary. So do you play him? Do you sit him? Do you release him? What do you do in that kind of a circumstance?
I think a lot has to do with the ownership.
I mean, the Phillies are not. They're not going to win anything this year unless miracles happen. So wouldn't you rather figure out what you're going to do going forward?
I would personally have traded him at some point. I know what happens, though. You look at the back of his baseball card and you expect to get something back. And, it's hard because, you go out there and you expect to get something back for him, and you're offered less than nothing and asked to pay for it.
Back-to-back walks issued by Alex Torres, and see how patient Terry Collins can afford to be here. He's got a 5-run lead, and Torres has just walked the first 2 hitters in the 8th inning.
It is not endearing himself, and Blevins, I think he's going to give him one more batter here, and
Dan Worthen will go out for a conversation. Got the lefty Revere on deck, so Blevins, you would assume, would come in for him.
This is nothing new for Torres, who appeared in 70 games. He's got great stuff. He just doesn't have great control.
Let's check out tonight's Verizon trivia question. The only 2 players to score more runs than Jackie Robinson during his 10-year career. Is that in the major leagues or just the National League? Can we get a clarification? In the major leagues. So he came up in 47, played through 56. Okay. 2 players who scored more runs in that period of time in the major leagues. That's a toughie because you think of the best players of the 50s. A lot of them didn't start their careers till 51, like Mays and Mantle.
It's kind of getting out of our generation too. We never saw those guys play.
You know what it makes us think of course, when you say out of our generation. Wish Ralph was here to help us out.
Yes. How about Richie Ashburn?
Ashburn had the most hits of any player in the 50s. I know that.
He led off.
But did he start his career in the 40s? I mean, it has to be somebody who played at at least 9 of those years, you would think. Popped up behind first. Awkward run for Duda into foul ground, but he gets there to make the catch. Nicely done by Duda for the first down.
How about his own teammate Duke Snyder? Did he start too late?
There's Ralph.
Ralph Kiner and Jackie Robinson. How about that?
I want that picture.
That's at old Ebbets Field right there. Also, it's an all-star game. There's Ralph's memorial logo right there.
If we had the system in this country to be able to knight someone, Mr. Kiner would be Sir Kiner.
So would Mr. Robinson.
Yes, he would.
Sir Jackie. Well, having gotten an out, Torres is going to stay in to face Revere, who's 0 for 3 tonight. Oh, there's more.
That's
Stan Musial.
That's an all-star game.
And Stan the Man.
That is an all-star game. Pretty good hitter on the left.
That's 3 Hall of Famers and a guy who probably should be one.
Yep.
Duda will take it himself. He has to beat the speedy Revere there, and does so for the second out.
I have to commend Revere with the hustle, but that was almost trying to run in front of a freight train.
I'm not sure Alex Torres was going to get there.
Well, that's what Lucas realized. He had to bust it to get there.
So now Grady Sizemore bats for the first time. He came in the double switch in the last inning. Sizemore started the first 2 games of the series in right field, went 0 for 7.
One of those guys in the picture could be in the trivia question. Stan the Man.
Yeah, that's a good call. It could be Ralph and Stan. That could be your answer.
Oh, Stan. Of course. It's got to be Stan the Man. Of course.
Stan Musial, who for the longest time was the National League career hits leader, 3,630 hits.
Stan played through started out in the war years, was part of that 42 championship team, and then ended his career, I believe, in 62 or 63.
Yep, 63.
1963.
Broken back grinder for Murphy. And so Alex Torres works around a couple of walks in the top of the 8th. Nice recovery by Torres as the Phillies leave 2 more on base. Still 6-1 Mets. Home runs for Travis d'Arnaud and Lucas Duda, as the Mets have built a 6-1 lead heading into the bottom of the 8th. And the aforementioned Mr. Duda leads off. Duda 2 doubles last night, a double and a home run tonight, 5 RBIs in the last 2 days. Facing Dustin McGowan, who begins his 2nd inning of relief. And he skips one in there for ball 1. Jerome Williams went the first 5, allowed 5 runs, 4 of them earned on 10 hits. Justin DeFreitas worked an inning, 1 run, 1 hit. McGowan worked around a walk and a base hit in the 7th. Mets are 3 outs away from sweeping a series, a 3-game series at home against the Phillies for the first time since 2010. They've had better fortunes in Philadelphia. Mets won 8 of 10 in Philadelphia last year.
What they do in that 5-game series? They won 4 out of 5?
4 or 5, yeah. Played May, early June. 5 games in 5 days. It was the first time any of us had ever seen that. All right, let's answer our Verizon trivia question. We asked who scored more runs than Jackie Robinson during his career. We're opining maybe Ralph Kiner and Stan Musial.
Pee-wee.
Pee-wee Reese.
So it was a teammate, but it wasn't the Duke. It was Pee-wee.
Stan the man.
Top of the order.
Stan the man. We should be shot. We should have known that.
I said it, so I'm not getting shot. You too.
Okay.
I'm fine.
I don't think any of us should be shot. I don't think any.
That's a little severe.
I don't think this rises to a capital crime.
Oh my God.
Michael Cuddyer on deck, then Daniel Murphy for the Mets in the home 8th. 3-2 to Duda. And he launches this one out to left field. Back goes Revere. He'll have room at the edge of the track. 1 out. Now Cuddyer, who's 1 for 4 tonight, doubled and scored a run in the 5th. Well, in his 3rd year in the major leagues, Jackie Robinson was the National League MVP, and look at those numbers. 432 on base percentage, 122 runs, 37 steals.
That's a pretty awesome year.
124 RBIs despite only 16 home runs. I mean, that's just phenomenal.
66 extra base hits, had a 38 doubles and 12 triples to go with that 16 home runs.
Who led the league in hitting that year? Hit 342 and don't lead the league in hitting.
Well, I was going to say the 12 triples is the most amazing part, playing at Ebbets Field where you couldn't hit a triple. Right. It was such a bandbox.
Folks at home, you know only today's game where 100, 150 strikeouts is routine. Jackie had almost 6,000 plate appearances, struck out 291 times. Almost 6,000 plate appearances.
That's right. Rafael Montero is going to get the 9th inning for the Mets. It doesn't appear as though the Mets are going to need a save chance in this game, which is to their benefit because Jerry's Familia not available tonight after saving games the last 3 days. And a check swing, and he did not go around. It's ball 4 to Cuddyer. So the Mets have a 1-out base runner in the home 8th. Coming up tonight, Geico Sports Night. Chris Carlin will be in the chair. Islanders in Washington to open the postseason in the NHL. Itemized receipts.
That's hilarious.
Midnight deadline.
Oh, Chris, you're starting something. You know you are.
Anything over $10, Chris.
Rupp out to get Murphy's dribbler. Low throw, but handled at first base by Ruff. Rupp to Ruff for the 2nd out. And over to second goes Cuddyer. So now it's Eric Campbell. First day filling in for David Wright at third base. He's gone 1 for 4.
That was a low blow. Really was.
Campbell pops one up. Rough into foul territory, and that retires the side. On to the ninth we go with the Mets bidding for a sweep of the Phillies, leading at 6-1. Live, Gary Apple, Nelson Figueroa will have all the highlights. Terry Collins post-game interview. They'll take you inside the clubhouse. Everything you need to know. WB Mason post-game live right after the game right here on SNY. Well, Alex Torres worked around a couple of walks in the 8th, and he'll get the 9th. Top of the batting order, Odubel Herrera, who's had a big night with 3 extra base hits, takes a strike.
Yeah, 2 shining lights for the Phillies, Herrera and Cody Ashe.
Ashe 3 for 3 in a walk. Herrera 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and a triple, and scored the only Philly run back in the first inning. Cesar Hernandez on deck. Then Chase Utley in the 9th. That's trying to win their 4th in a row and send the Phillies home without a win. Way inside, and Herrera drops the bat.
Again with that ball in, watch where the hands are for the hitter. Just keeps him there and drops the bat, as opposed to turning that front shoulder back towards the catcher. Sorry, front shoulder back towards the catcher to get your hands out of harm's way.
There's a fastball for a strike from Alex Torres. 1-2.
Maybe that's from practicing with the bat with the ball attached to it.
Oh, the Derek Shelton things. Yeah.
So funny. Oh well.
Two and 2 to Herrera. John Niese went 6 1/3 tonight, allowed 9 hits and 2 walks, but only 1 run. He was Houdini tonight. Mets have been getting great starting pitching every day. And one guy who's had the hiccup was Dylan G, and he gets his second chance tomorrow against the Marlins. Grounded down to Duda. He's going to have to take this himself because Torres is, well, he did get there. It was very close against the speed of Herrera. The last time Duda took it himself because he didn't think Torres was going to make it. This time he did.
Beautiful by Lucas. Look how he ran to the pitcher, shortened the distance. Did he get stepped on? No, he did not.
See, what you should do if you're in a race to first base and you're a left-handed pitcher, see how longer it takes him to get there, and Herrera almost sneaks in. Just reach out with your glove hand and tag him. You'll hit him before he gets to the bag.
Nice play by Lucas. He's showing a lot of polish over at first base. I'm telling you. That was beautifully done. You just run towards the pitcher and give him that underhand toss. It closes the distance down. You get the ball before the pitcher is 2 steps, preferably before the bag, where he can catch the ball and find the bag. It was just well done.
Right, Keith.
Now Cesar Hernandez with 1 out, 1 for 3 and a walk tonight.
Well, we're going to show you this for you kids, because this is a good tutorial right here. Ground ball in the hole. Look how he runs to the beautiful. That just cuts the distance down. You get it to the pitcher fast and give the pitcher time to make the catch and then find the bag. Plenty of time to find the bag. Beautiful. I know it's routine. This is the big leagues, but I like to see the fundies.
I don't think it's so routine with a guy that fast going down.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
0-2 to Hernandez. And he fouls it away. Chase Utley on deck. Well, Chris Carlin and Adam Shine will have a preview of tomorrow's Mets-Marlins opener, plus all the latest Rangers and Islanders playoff news on Loudmouths tomorrow at 5:30, only on SNY. Alex Torres, the second Torres of the night for the Mets. Carlos got 2 outs. Alex has gotten 4. Make it 5 as Hernandez is down looking for a strikeout for Alex, and the Phillies are down to their final out in the 9th.
This is paint, Niese, black. See, Darno has a little bit of that subtle, able to grab it and just lift it about an inch and a half. It's also 6-1 late in the game. Dan Bellino, strike 3.
So Chase Utley, the final hope for the Phillies after his big night last night. Utley's gone 0 for 4 tonight. Had the only RBI with a ground out. Ryan Howard out on deck to pinch hit if Utley can keep it going. And Utley takes a strike. Utley also had that curious bunt in the 5th inning. His team was down by 2 runs, 1st and 2nd, 1 out, and appeared to try to bunt for a hit. Was thrown out. Phillies didn't score, and they have not scored since. Tejada on the charge, and the ball game is over. Alex Torres works 2 innings in relief to finish it off for John Niese, and the Mets finish off a sweep of the Philadelphia Phillies as they win their 4th in a row. Home runs by Darno and Duda, and the Mets win it 6-1.
Well, interesting game. Jonathan Niese pitched out of a lot of jams, but he was able to get those 4 or 5 outs that he needed through those 6 1/3 innings, just giving up a run. And Keith, it really was the offense game as the Mets take the sweep with the tiredest broom I've ever seen.
They take the old sweeper to the Philadelphia Phillies. Need to get that thing fixed up. Tonight's game summary presented by Ford. Niese gets his first victory of the season, scattering 9 hits. Lucas Duda, another big night, 5 RBIs the last 2 nights. And the Mets complete the whitewash of the Phillies as they win their 4th straight game to tie for first place at 6-3 on the season. For every Mets win, the Mets Foundation is proud to contribute $2,500 to the Cats Women's Hospital and the Cats Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northshorelij.com/KIWH. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $15,000. Routine win for the Mets tonight as they beat the Phillies 6-1. More from Citi Field coming up in just a moment.